So, hey, what's up, everybody? We are here to talk about um, finding a community in the photography community. Yeah. So, we get that finding your tribe they talk about, which I have struggled with a lot over the last couple of years because it's kind of, or it can be kind of like a lonely place to be in. Because you're out taking the photos and then you might share them on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is, and sometimes it falls into the void. For me, I wasn't on Instagram. I found that to be a very unhealthy place, just for the doom scrolling. It wasn't necessarily like Insta on its own, but it was just, how social media is. You end up just getting sucked in, and then you see everybody else's stuff and you say, that's amazing. I could never do anything like that. Or they're so much better than me. Even if, like in my case, you're a professional photographer that has like all these examples and clients of like you're doing real work, you still judge yourself on these other people that you don't even know, but you see their photos and it's amazing. And you're like, ugh, people aren't going to like my stuff on Insta. Why do I even bother? So I jumped off of Insta, and I searched for a community within Reddit, and I found a lot of good luck there. There's some awesome, or was, right now we're in the middle of like that whole third party ban app thing. So Reddit is in turmoil, and there's a lot of Reddit subreddits that have gone dark. So there's a lot. I think they're still dark, but the photography subreddit, it was just the straight up photography. I used to love going in there. That they had a great community of like Sundays were self promotion Sundays. There was I can't remember all the days, but like there's almost every day had like this thing. And so I found a lot of people through the self promotion Sunday, not so much for myself, but I was seeing what these other people were doing. And I got so inspired on Instagram. I'm like, oh man, these guys are doing such great stuff. But it was in the community, having that community conversation, it was more of a positive thing, as opposed to the endless void of just my feed of people that I didn't really know, and it was suggesting stuff, or the Peter McKinnons of the world that you don't feel like you could ever match up to. It was different because I had started to build these connections within Reddit. So that sense of community, that kind of like, it's faceless because it's digital, but it was just, there was a little more of that genuine connection first. And then they would have their little, like, oh, see, look at my website, or look at my photo shoot that I just did. And, and it was very inspiring. It was very cool. So I was like, oh man, I got to get on this. So I've been kind of aching for this sense of community, this, people that get the photography bug, that when we are out there and we're taking photos, just out, maybe it's just, maybe you like street photography. For me, I'm really into nature. I love forests and woods. So the professional or the personal stuff that I shoot is usually nature. It's a lot of the woods. I'm just enamored with that. And living in New England, I have woods everywhere. I can go in any direction, down any road, and there's just, if you haven't been to New England, try it. So we have the drive photographers have of, it's almost like it comes from outside of you. Like it's like once you get that, you have the camera in your hand and you just start taking photos, like, look at this thing. Oh, wow. Oh, look. Oh, wait, if I just shift a little bit this way. Oh, wow. That's so much cooler than it was like right here is okay. But whoa, like, those spots, those times that you get as a photographer. And so not everybody gets that. There's a lot of creative people out there that they get that way about different things, their art, music, whatever it is. But when you capture something in the lens, it's intoxicating, and you can go, from me, you end up going like into Lightroom, and if you have something that starts to move you, like, oh man, I got this awesome shot. It was this gorilla that was looking at the lens, and he looked at me just in time and like looked right in the lens as I was taking the photos, and you just die inside. And then you have to edit. Like, it doesn't matter if you're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to edit that thing because it's just like, I need it. I need it. That was such a good shot. So getting involved with a community that understands that is really important. And I think it helps drive that influence of yourself, and drives that motivation. And so that's actually part of the reason why I started the live stream a few weeks ago, when I just said, I'm just going to hit go live. And I did it, and it worked fine. And then the second time, when I set everything up and I tried StreamYard, it wasn't StreamYard's fault, but it was just that terrible. It's my internet. It's my internet, dude. I can't wait till Verizon gets in here, because it's the upload speed, and our upload speed is just ridiculous. It's terrible. I don't want to say who I have, but Verizon, just activate it already, would you? So anyway, that whole sense of community and this live stream thing has helped keep me in motion towards doing even more. So it's like, oh, I had that moment of like, oh man, I maybe I should do it. I did it. And so I have a collaboration with Rich Charpentier. Is that how you pronounce it, Rich? I don't want to bastardize it. I'm pretty sure that that's pretty close. But Rich and I are going to be doing a collab. He's got a channel here, AZ Drone, and I'll link him in the description here because he's awesome. But we're going to collab. We're putting something together there. And then I ran into somebody over here just as I was walking my dog. I don't want to call you out, but you know who you are. She and I have started chatting on Instagram. We were walking down by the reservoir. I was walking my dog just for a normal dog walk towards sunset time. And she was out with her Canon, just slung across her shoulder. And she wasn't taking any photos yet, but she walked by me. And my first thought was like, I want to ask her what she's shooting, but I didn't want to bother her. So I wanted to just let her. So I let her do her thing. And then we happened to cross paths again. And I had to ask. So I did. And I'm so glad that I did, because she was, we started just chatting about, she shoots Canon. So, and I shoot Canon. And so we were starting to talk about the models and the lenses and what is she shooting. And she's shooting with the T7i, which was my first Canon. So we started chatting about that. And so we started to build that sense of community, that relationship, that rapport. And we started to almost geek out together, because you run into those people that if you're not a photographer, you can talk to them about it. Like, oh wow, look at this shot. Look at this thing. You pull up your phone or your camera and you're like, look at this thing. I got this tree. Do you see how I got that tree? Like, look at the line. You see how the vanishing point and the like rule of thirds. And even if you're not saying that, you're saying that with your excitement, and you can show somebody else that, and they're like, yeah, it's a nice picture. It's like, no, it's so much more than a nice picture. Like, look at this thing. It's so awesome. So it's exciting when you run into somebody else that kind of shares that passion. So she and I were chatting for, oh God, I don't know. I probably took up half an hour of her time, maybe more. And we went over some different things. And like I showed her a quick little macro trick, because she's getting into macro, and she got a cool, I think it was the Canon 100 mil, which is typically used for a macro lens. But there's a technique, and maybe I'll do a short here, where you can take your lens off of your camera and flip it around. So just reverse it, and you have to like abut it to your camera. Here, let me. So like if this is your lens here, and this is your body, you have to, like, this is the front, you just pop it off and put it like this, and you have to hold it, and you want to try to get as much of the area covered so dust doesn't get in on the sensor. And you also want to, anyway, we don't have to get into all this, but you can start to do some macro photography with the same lens that you're currently using. It's usually a fixed. We don't need to get into it here on the live stream. But I'll do a video on that at some point. because it's a really cool, a useful thing, especially for those that want to see things from a different perspective and like super zoom in on something. So we started chatting about that, and it kind of led to just it. When I got home, I checked out her Instagram. Great stuff. I shared it on my Instagram, and I was more pumped. I was motivated because it was, I got that sense of, I don't want to say belonging, because it wasn't really a sense of belonging. It was just, I was geeking out over this stuff, and she gets it. So that sense of community. So it helped propel me even more. So I started to get on Insta a little bit more. And I'm like, you know what? I've been having this idea of doing a photographer's walk within my city, and I haven't known anybody in this city that's a photographer. Like, I just haven't met that many people. When we moved here, it was during COVID. So then like 2021 was still kind of COVID-y, and people weren't really going out and doing much. So, but now we're past that. So people are a little bit more cool with going out, and I've been wanting to do that. So I broached the subject with her, and there's somebody else on Instagram that I've communicated with about doing that. So now we're starting to build this thing where we're gonna do this walk. Go for coffee. Of course, you gotta go out for coffee, have a conversation, and then go take some pictures. And so I'm really jazzed about it. And if finding that community, I didn't realize how starved I was for it. So I knew that should be a good conversation piece for this live stream, because if I'm starved for it, I know there's lots of other people that are starved for it. So that brings me over to Instagram. So let's talk about Instagram for a minute. I told you, so I had a lot of not issues, but I had a lot of reservations. I had a lot of reservations about Instagram, and mostly around that, like, kind of doom scrolling. I can still doom scroll on Reddit for sure, but there was something different about Instagram. And I've been putting a lot of effort behind my company, 124 Productions, and I had started to focus more on LinkedIn, because that's where, one, I don't feel like there's that doom scroll effect as much, and for the kind of contracts that I go after, like, it's a whole big thing. You have to do an RFP, which is a request for proposal, or the company puts out an RFP, which is a request for proposal, which is kind of like a job description. And then I put out a proposal and say, oh, I think, this is my scope and budget. And, it's going to be $10,000 for however many shots and blah, 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 right? Whatever. Are we going to do drones or not? My proposal is essentially my resume. It's pretty much what it is. So LinkedIn is kind of the right place for 124 Productions, but from my more creative side, my Dave Grenier side, I wasn't really feeling as fulfilled on LinkedIn, but I didn't want to jump over into Instagram because of that, like, that toxicity. It wasn't Twitter toxicity. It was just that, like, I got sucked in. So I think it was a 2-hour conversation with my unofficial social media manager, who's a very good friend of mine. And I've mentioned her on the channel before. And that's what she does. She does social media, and she is an expert in it. She's going to say that she's not, but she is. So I told her all about my different reservations over it, and how, like, there's a sense of community over it. There's literal communities over in Reddit. You're like, what do I want to look about today? Photoshop? Let me go into that community tab. And it wasn't following people. It was following communities. It was following, like, topics. So I really liked that. And it was easier for me to control my time on it. Anyway, so we had a 2-hour conversation, because she had been trying to get me over to Instagram for a long time, and I was just very resistant to it. So I did it, and I'm very glad that I did. I've been excited about making posts. I haven't so far, but I've also tried to be very mindful of this. I am not taking photos to post on the gram. I am there are times where like I might normally walk by something and I'll be like, oh, that's nice. But I'm not taking photos. I'm not going out on my walks with my dog to take photos and ignoring other stuff. I'm not like, oh, I got to put it on the gram and hashtag this and hashtag that and all that stuff. Right. It's a healthier mindset. I have more inspiration. And I'm connecting with some more photographers, local photographers, which is great, and some others that aren't local. So I just started that a couple weeks ago. And it's actually helping me be a little bit more inspired for doing these kinds of things. So the live event and the podcast. So if you saw last week was the premiere. It was a podcast, but we did it as a premiere, which is kind of a live thing with me and D-Will. That's another sense of community. Like I'm really trying to build that community. And he's an awesome guy. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. I'll see if I can afterwards. I'll link that in this. That was about his journey into photography and in that like kind of like aha moment. Like I'm a professional, man. Also, he's got a big project. Go over and help him out with that. It's an art project over in San Bernardino. It's a big event thing for artists. So check it out. But anyway, so it's been that. I think it's kind of like that motivation or that momentum begats more momentum. So objects and motions tend to stay in motion. That whole thing. So like doing this rather than just hitting the live and just letting it be that, posting it, making a graphic, making the animations and stuff has helped keep me involved in it, like that time frame, and it's helped keep me more in the mindset of the community. If you know of some other community photography communities, let me know, because I've been a man apart for so long and just doing the work, and then that's it. It's been me, myself, and I, and working with D-Will a little bit. So one of the things that I want to do with my channel is I really want to uplift the beginners and the amateurs and people that are kind of struggling to feel that like they can take that first step. One of the things, how algorithms are, and clicky titles and all that, not clickbait, but like get the right title. But I specifically didn't want to put that as the title of this, because I want this to be more of a conversation. Like my channel, I want it to be more of a conversation surrounding kind of the chill atmosphere of this stuff. So a lot of times the music that I'll choose, not all the time, but a lot of times the music that I'll choose is a little bit more of like a chill vibe, like a slower vibe, especially because on social media, a lot of the stuff, especially if you look at TikTok or shorts, it's just like pow, 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 pow. And that energy is like, it's too much. At least for me, I'm an old man. So I like that kind of chill atmosphere. So to the title, I didn't want like a clickbaity title. I want to kind of like, I guess it says finding your tribe. Sorry, a discussion on Craving community and photography, which I think is a pretty good title. But the other one that I had, I feel like would have been a little bit more engaging for like when people are scrolling through. But it goes back to that conversation of like, I want this to be a conversation. I want this to be like we're chatting in a coffee shop, or just sitting on the couch. That goes for everything. Like all of my stuff, I want it to be more accessible, I guess. I could have said all that by just saying that I want it to be more accessible to people. But anybody that knows me that knows that I'm long-winded. But yeah, anyway, so that's it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, throw them in the comments section. You know what to do. Until I see you next time, be good to each other.